Okay, this is video number 3 on shooting a gun properly. We've covered safety, and then we've covered the grip, the stance, the trigger of the gun. And now I want to talk about dry practice. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is that you can actually practice all of this before you go to the range. Let's talk about why. Now, if I were to, I guess, use a hypothetical situation and think that we're talking to mainly adults, there might be a teenager too here, but your daughter just turned 16 and you took her down and she gets her driver's license and she's excited and you say, "Oh, honey, you're such a good driver, you're doing so good." And she turns to you and says, "Hey, Dad, can I borrow the car and take my friends to New York this weekend?" Your answer is what? Your answer is no. And you say, "Well, why would you say that?" And everybody I've ever asked this question to answers exactly the same way. She might know how to drive the car, but she has no experience. So let's talk about experience. Let's talk about what actually is happening. When I began to learn to shoot a gun, the Lord began to teach me the difference between my brain and my mind. You would call it subconscious because the world calls it that, but it really is not. When the rich man was in hell, Abraham said, "Do you remember?" And his brain is in the grave, so he's remembering with something other than his brain. He's remembering with his mind. The Bible says our soul is our mind, our will, and emotion. We need to do something like shooting enough that it becomes what we would call second nature. If it's not second nature, you're not going to do it when the adrenaline is flowing. Now, because you're not really going to be able to go down and shoot 200, 300 rounds every week for 6 months to get good at this. You could, I did, but if you want to do that, that's going to be expensive. So I found out that a lot of guys that are professionals and they shoot competition, they do most of their shooting at home with no ammo. You say, how do they do that? Well, because the gun needs to be a part of you. Just like taking a basketball and going out in your backyard and shooting hoops at night where you're constantly shooting until you get your form right, until you get your wrist right, until you get everything right. That's true for snow skiing, water skiing, volleyball. It doesn't matter what it is. It's true in every sport. You've got to get to the place where what you're doing becomes natural. So for me, I take a gun at home and I will put it concealed, and I will start off by drawing my hand, reaching for my gun, pulling the gun out of the holster, finger off the trigger, grabbing the gun here, and I want Justin to look at this. I'm going to take this finger here and hit my knuckle there so that when I come up, I'm meeting two hands together, and I wrap my gun there and point out until it's at eye level, the back sights and the front sight on it, pull the trigger, bang. Gun goes off and goes back down. I rack the slide and get ready, and I do it again. Now, I might do this 25, 30, 50 times in an afternoon because I'm making sure that I'm getting a high grip, making sure my hands fit on the gun right, make sure my fingers off the trigger, pointing the gun in, make sure that my arms are correct, make sure the sights are correct, it's coming up right, pull the trigger, finger off the trigger, gun bags back down, look around. Why am I doing that? Because I want it to become natural that these sights are coming up in my eyes. That becomes second nature, not first. You're going to find out when you get to the range that if all you're doing is just shooting rounds at a piece of paper, all you've done is gone through a box of ammo and you haven't trained much of anything other than the recoil of the gun and putting some bullets in a piece of paper and making some holes. And you're going to come home and go, "I don't feel like I'm learning anything." Well, you can learn to shoot this gun and to press this trigger without any ammo in it, and the gun not move. And that's what you're going to want. And we're going to discuss that in the next video session. I can't do it right now, but I'm going to bring some snap caps with me because we're also going to need to learn to go through what happens when your gun jams. And you've got to drop the mag and you've got to rack your slide and put the mag back in and you have a type 1, type 2, type 3 malfunction. Those are also things you can practice at home, and we'll do it later. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you're enjoying this. The next time we meet, we'll probably be outside at a range, and we're going to go through some real actual firing of the handgun. Hey, God bless all of you. I hope this helps you.